Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am creating a card with almost only Lawn Fawn products. And I am sharing this card because I quite like how it turned out, but I must admit this was not what I intended to make. First of all, I am stamping everything out using Gina K Design Amalgam ink, and I was under the impression that I was using Neenah 110 because I plan to color with my Copic markers, and I'm still doing that, but this paper is actually Strathmore Bristol Smooth, which is not ideal at all for alcohol markers as my Copics, but I only realized that as soon as I started coloring, so a bit too late, and so my card turned out a bit different than what I was planning on creating, but it still turned out good. I think it's not perfect if you ask me, and but it sort of goes, and that's why I'm showing it to you. Definitely let me know if you like it as well, because of course some things will go wrong while I am blending, as in it isn't blending at all, but yeah. So I'm stamping everything out, and because the jar is like tilted so that the stars can fall out of it, I didn't want the stars to be like on there straight. So yeah, just to keep everything in place, which will help me later on in this video, I am also taking my Stampin' Perfect help, and I am stamping out my stars with that one. So I've created a mask so that I can like sort of create all those stars pouring towards the bottom of the jar, or the top, depends on how you're looking at it, but I want them to sort of fall out of it, and now I'm also creating a mask for that, because all the ink blending you need some mask. So yeah, a lot of masking, a lot of cutting, really fun. That was also a reason why I kept going with this card, although I wasn't really happy that I had the wrong paper, but yeah. Also, I'm really sorry, the most part of this video is filmed while the lamps above my head were also on, and I sometimes don't realize it, so that's the yellow light that you also see, and some more of the shadowing, but yeah. So I'm just cutting out these stars, and then I need to stamp some single stars, also make mask, and then I can start ink blending. So now that everything is on there, I can start ink blending. This time I'm using my Distress Oxide. They are more forgiving than Distress inks, although I really love Distress inks when I am trying to create a glow around my stars. I really like to be able to go over inks that I have blended on top of my card panel, and still having that color to show up. So I am using Fossilized Amber for my glow from the stars. I'm using Seedless Preserves and Faded Jeans. So I'm just blending my way through this panel, and actually while I was blending I was thinking that this paper really stayed wet for a long time, and that is not normal for Neenah, that it appeared to be Strathmore or anything like that. But then I said to myself, and I shouldn't have done that, but I said to myself, well, it has been a while since you've used Distress Oxide ink, so maybe it's just because of that. Which was not the case, but that sort of settled my mind, and then I just thought that I could still use my Copics. But if I would have realized it by now, I would have colored my stars in with fixe or with some water-based mediums like Distress inks that you smoosh on the side to use that as watercoloring or just watercolors or anything like that. But I didn't realize it. So I have done the glows, and I am now going to splatter some extra stars. So these stars that I'm creating with this white gouache from Winsor and Newton is more like the stars in the back, far away, that you cannot really see. But yeah, just splattering those all around. And then I'm taking some liquid Stardust from Lawn Fawn, and I'm also splattering this background. So up to this point I'm really happy with what I have. I am removing my masks, and I will let this dry so that I can start with the Copic coloring. So I had a few stars that were apparently hanging over the edges of what I stamped out, and then you have like that white border, small white border. I'm going to fix that by blending again. But in the ideal world and in the ideal card making process, I would have placed it completely straight on there, and then there wouldn't be any gaps with white. But yeah, it happens, so you just have to deal with them. You can choose whether you leave it like this, or you can like be a pain and be like me and go over it again. I kept my items inside of my Misties, and that's because I wanted to have really the black outline from the jar as well as the stars inside of it. You know, when you're ink blending with Distress Oxide and you overlap with your stamped out images, that it can be a bit covered, and that I wanted to avoid by going over it once more. So that's why I kept everything inside of my stamping tools. So I'm heat setting everything because I really want to color, and I don't want to smear anything, of course. So using my heat gun, So now onto the coloring. Since these are all stars, I only had to use a few colors. But as you see, when I take my next color to blend everything out, yeah, it's just not blending at all. And I first thought my Copic markers were dry, and yes, some of them are a bit. So I need some refills, but the ones that I need are sold out, and with the new refills that are coming, yeah, they are not quickly restocked, so I have to wait. But as you can see here, I think I realized it by now that something was just wrong with the paper, and I was just annoyed by myself. It just wouldn't blend. And because I didn't want to throw away this card, I had put a lot of effort in that background, in stamping everything, in masking everything, in creating the masks. I decided to take my Stickles. So I will first color in all the other stars, but here I was contemplating whether I should leave it, throw it away, or yeah, it's not what I was going for. But yeah, I took Stickles. I have the Stickles Diamond. And I went over every star in, yeah, just hoping that all the glitter would distract from the not blending of my Copics. And I left this card like drying for the rest of the night, and I came back the other day to see whether it sort of helped this error to, yes, to continue with this card. So that's really dramatic. The idea originally for me was to not add any gloss or whatever on the stars. That was just not what I was going for. But in this case, and that's only the reason why I'm showing this card, I think it worked. There is a lot of glitter on this card, and some people might think it's a bit too much, but it was either throwing away this panel or adding glitter, and the glitter helped. So if you would like to make a similar card or anything, I would suggest just using the right paper for whatever you want to color it in with. And otherwise there are some Stickles or some glitter drops or whatever you want. I didn't took the glitter drops that I have from Nuvo because the glitter there is finer, and I thought that there was more chance to have really the cover up of the glitter using a bit of a larger glitter, so that's why I use Stickles. So the day after I returned to this panel, everything was dry, and I don't mind that I didn't blend everything well, because the Stickles really helped, and that my boyfriend mentioned that yeah, it didn't appear like a jar for him. It was too flat, everything, so I suggested that I was going to add some pencils, some white pencils just at the sides to sort of make it appear rounded, if you get what I mean. and also not the idea in the beginning, but yeah, I quite like it. I think I should practice more with glass stuff, with coloring in glassware and stuff like that, just to really make it appear more realistic, if you get what I mean. But yeah, I just flicked some white pencils to the middle. It wasn't easy, I must admit, on this Distress Oxide ink. Maybe it's easier on just Distress ink, or maybe it isn't, but I wouldn't recommend using pencils over Distress Oxide ink, personally. So yeah, I'm just adding that. And afterwards I had to think about the sentiment and where this card was going. Like, was it going to be a birthday, a thank you, friendship? Yeah, I should think about that in front of it, but yeah, not there yet. While looking for a sentiment, I decided to make it a thanks card, and I first started off using just these stems to form my sentiment, but then I thought, with all these stars and stuff, I wanted to use a big word. So I used the thanks, Scripty thanks from Lawn Fawn, and then I added a lovely sentiment down below. So for these scripted things, I first thought I would do it in white, so I die cut it from Neenah. Yes, this time I used Neenah, and I also die cut it from black licorice, and I decided that I preferred the black one, and then I will be heat embossing the rest of the sentiment in white onto this background. So now that the sentiment is heated, I am going to add the tanks. Therefore, I am using a few thin foam squares that I'm going to cut in tiny slivers to put behind the tanks. And this way I wanted to create a bit of dimension. There is some dimension because of the stickles as well, and I really wanted the tanks to pop also. But there is like that one star beneath the tanks, and because of that height, the thin foam squares were ideal to put behind the rest of the sentiment. Adding some Wink of Stella glitter on top of my tanks, and then this panel is finished. So I just need to adhere it on top of a card base, and therefore I am using some Scotch foam tape because all the heat setting really bugged this panel, and you can minimize the bulking by using some foam tape. So that's what I'm doing here. And then this card is finished. So there went something wrong with the paper choice in the beginning, but I actually am really glad that this card still turned out to be finished. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you liked seeing the mistake. It turned out, so I'm really happy with it, and I hope you are too. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. If you like how this turned out eventually, give this a thumbs up, and I hope to see you next time again. Bye!